Nah, I got something to prove and I ain't never gonna give up. Plenty of juice and I ain't never gonna waste it. Something to do and I ain't never wanna quit it. So come on, get a little bit, I know you wanna play with it. Coming to you from Studio Iguana Monk down in the Big Dirty, it's the Twisted Pop Podcast, where we explore what it means to be a working artist living in the real world. Please welcome your hosts, Larry Lines and Troy Winston.
Right, I think I'm good. What are we on? 23, 24?
Well, this
With the next.
It just depends on where we put Aaron's next.
Yeah, I probably should put an interview before Heather I Hate Art, but who cares?
I don't know. I don't know who would care.
What do I fucking care about that? About the order, just as long as we're getting episodes out.
Well,
right?
let's do
24.
Well, it's either 24 or 25, right?
Yeah.
This is episode 24.
Whatever it takes.
Decision made.
And then you do a take like, this is episode 25.
This is the Twisted Pop Podcast, episode 24 or 25.
One of the two. I did it perfect. You did it shitty. You threw an or in there. But
We got to cut that away.
So yeah, depending on where it falls, that's where we're at. That's Larry Lines.
Oh, I'm Larry Lines, that's for sure.
I'm Troy Winscott.
Oh, Ashley. Hey, what's up?
Hey, Ashley. It's Ashley. Hey, what's up?
Ashley, hey, what's up? Is joining us in the studio
Gotta have a
today.
different last name every time.
Yeah. And we were talking about Francine.
But first we were talking about Zine Fest.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about that.
Unless we want that to be the subject of our go diddle here.
Go diddle.
What's a go diddle?
It's,
I don't know what...
You know that website, Go Diddle, where I can go compare
Diddle.
like a lot of different go kart prices around. No, it's where I can compare where I can compare pedophiles.
Oh no!
Around the nation.
Oh,
The
we
cheapest
signed at the
pedophiles. Go
Times.
Diddle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
And they get reviewed in Polanski's.
That's the cheapest Go Diddle I can get.
Oh, now it's over.
It's a baby. It's a babysitter site where you go to check cheap babysitters for your kids.
Oh.
Go Diddle. What, too soon?
What?
Polanski's. You measure those babysitters in Polanski's.
Oh, that's funny.
It's terrible.
That's comedy gold, y'all.
Zine Fest. We went to
Zine
Zine Fest,
Zine
Houston 2017, Lawndale. It was awesome.
I recognized several people. I don't know anybody that was there.
You don't know their names?
No, it's like I see them on the same scene, like, over and over.
Yep.
And there's a lot of really cool stuff there. I saw several things that I really liked. I bought one thing.
Yeah.
I bought one thing.
I bought things that Lucy wanted. I knew that I was going to get in there.
What was
Yeah,
her
I
name?
said this. He was trying to find it, and I said, I think it was the Sparkle Lady. I just remember because things were sparkly there. It was
That's not her name?
No, it was the
Oh,
only...
that should have been her name. You should have pitched it
It was
like
the
that.
only booth that was sparkly. Everyone else was much hipper than that, and so it was...
What was the Sparkle Lady? Is this the one that
That's
It's
what
the
he-
occult claw things.
Yeah, the resin claws.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were awesome.
I dug it.
We stayed there a
She had,
long
like,
time.
sparkly fairy-looking stuff too, I guess, and that's why it stood out because it was different from the rest of it.
Yeah.
More
Anybody
crafty.
make any contacts there?
Yeah.
Renee, I
Okay.
hooked him,
Renee,
introduced
yeah.
him to Renee Cruz, who's a really awesome artist, and because I was buying,
Yeah.
Swamp Thing.
Yeah, I got his contact information. And I got some earlier in the day I went to the Phoenix Fest.
I have ginger in my teeth.
Oh.
I'll stop it.
What?
I'll stop doing that.
Oh, it's got ginger in your teeth.
I'm making a fucking weird face.
Oh, it's more stills for
Yeah.
Aaron to pull out and post on your Facebook page.
Great. Let's all do that.
Troy picking ginger out of his teeth.
Yeah.
Sexy.
Zine Fest.
Yes.
Zine Fest.
That's
Yes.
cool. I wish had the time to go slowly and look at everyone's stuff a little bit more, but it was just so packed, and I don't do well in those really packed environments like that. I'm like, okay, move it along, look and go, and too much stuff maybe, but I liked it. I mean, that's for me. I don't mean that.
I've never been to the
Zine
Zine Fest before, and I have a friend, Patrick Brooks, who is there every year, and Iggy and his son went to kindergarten together. They were really good friends, and he brings it up every year, and I see his Facebook posts. The reason I made a point of going this year is because Lucy makes little books. She makes a ton of little books. And I was like, oh, Zine Fest, and that totally makes sense. This is like Lucy's thing. Like, and we got there an hour before you did, and we never looked at anything else. It was like we weren't having conversations. We were like, having conversations with artists, and her face was like this far from stuff for an hour, looking at stuff. And that occult booth that you were at.
Yeah.
She looked at everything and touched everything there. I mean, went through all of her stuff, read books.
Awesome.
There was some of the stuff that I bought was just because she was sitting there, like right up on the booth, like flipping through pages.
Sweetie, someone else needs to get up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like if it was $3, I just bought it, and if it was like 15 or 10 or something like that, I was like, well, we'll see if she remembers it at the end.
Yeah.
And we just got a couple things that were cool. Like those claws were really cool. I don't know what that artist's name. I wish it did, because we could plug her right now.
There were workshops there as well, right? Throughout the day, which I was at least one or two. There's something that sounded interesting. I want to look into.
Well, there was a kids thing too, and there was a kids focus.
Was there a kids thing for
the booth? Where there was a tablet to sign up for, like the mailing list for Zine Fest, and then right next to that booth, off to the right, was a bunch of kids that were. That had a bunch of information about creating zines and stuff like that.
How old?
I don't know. One was like 8 or 9. The other was up to teenagers. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you introduce Lucy, or she?
No, she was not interested in them at all. She was like that's kind of her thing. I knew that she, because they went, oh look, you can go right here. She's interested in stuff like that, and she was like, nope. And she was like, I want to see the stuff.
Yeah.
Which I don't think she was even aware that she was going to be that interested, which was kind of cool. So it was just like I was, kind of shepherding her through the thing. Yeah. And then we went upstairs because we didn't know there was an upstairs. And then it was over. She was like, I've seen too much. I had measured the room.
Overload.
Yeah, and this was as many zine booths as I could see, because I was pacing myself. We went upstairs and she was like, I don't care what's up here.
Well, and she's done for the day, right? Like there were other plans, and now she doesn't.
She's really into that zine stuff.
Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Awesome.
I was really excited because there's so much stuff there, and I would buy everything. If you wish it were a couple more times a year so you could see some of that stuff other places.
If it weren't packed, I probably would have slowly gone through and leafed through more things.
That homemade stuff, I mean, it's so crazy incredible. It sometimes blows my mind. Like, it reminds me of like the first time I ever saw somebody put together like a homemade thing. And I was at Comic-Con in San Diego, and I was sitting at, I spent a whole day just sitting for portfolio reviews. And so you end up talking to a lot of people that you recognize their stuff, like even at the beginning of the internet, like before the internet, they had like a bunch of like illustrators books and stuff that went out with everybody's stuff in it. And this kid who had done something ridiculous, like 25 of these little booklets, and they were all 15 to 18 pages maybe, and they were cut out pieces, like you'd spent like 8 days in a Kinko's like putting all these books together, and they were all identical with like cut out characters on each page. Mm-hmm. It was crazy insane that like every single page was like a cut out piece of paper of like these multiple pieces of character.
Oh man, that's crazy.
They look like a South Park animation, kind of, but better.
They were not copied? They were each individual and identical but different? They were not,
Yeah,
like,
he had
just
gone to
copies?
Kinko's and like he had run off like these characters like multiple times, and you know, and he was sitting in a Kinko's because I was in L.A. Like before this, and there were several people in the L.A. Kinko's that I was at that I was sitting right next to like the next day, right? And this kid was one of them, and I saw him over there meticulously with an X-Acto, like cutting these things out. And then this other guy was just running pages of like comic books that he had done. So I was in that Kinko's for like 2 hours, and I saw 5 people I was sitting with in San Diego the next day, like in the same portfolio review. We got to talking about each other's stuff. He was like, well, and you end up passing your packets around. And I was like, yeah, I saw you in Kinko's, like, doing this the other night. And he was like, oh, yeah, that was, like, the 8th day I was there. I was just sitting in there, like, every day. Like, and I was like, dude, what? And I started looking at these things, because at first glance, you don't recognize that these things are, like, cutouts. But it was, like, kind of South Park style, but better. And I was just like, what the hell? And how many of these did you do? And he was like, I don't know. Like 12, 18.
And what was he selling them, or what was he selling them
No, they were
for?
for the portfolio review, so that he could sit there and pass them out to the people that he wanted a job with.
Got it.
And they were all little booklets about like this big. They were super cool. But I was like, that's insane.
Yeah, to have handmade it instead of making one. and
Yeah,
then
like a
making
number of
copies.
these things.
There was a guy there that had a really well, published. It was a very nice book, and it was all stuff like that. But he scanned all of it, so he had all these like handmade pieces of things, and then he scanned all of them and put them in collages of stuff, and then wrote some things with it.
You like scan the collage itself.
Yeah,
right?
but the pieces, some of them were sculptures, like which was strange, like the way. Anyway, it was like, so there was like pictures mixed with scanned stuff that he had drawn, and as you're turning through it, you're like, oh my god, this like took forever. Like how many pieces of things were put together. And there is a lot of really well put together comic books and comic strip things.
Yeah.
There's one guy that had a booth at the end, like around the end there, that he said he's been doing 3 panels a day since 2001.
Wow.
And he's got 12 anthologies of comic strips with like 100 pages in each of them.
One of the neat things that Renee had was, I was like, oh, what are these little books? Because he posts on Instagram a lot of pictures of what he draws in his sketchbook, and a lot of his stuff is very sketchbooky and very loose, and always seems to me like it's made pretty quickly, but in a like that guy's a natural and knows what he wants kind of way, a good way, and so he had these little books there, these little, I don't know, like 5x5, 6x6 books, and he flipped through them. I was like, oh, are these all the pictures from, these are things from your sketchbook, all his just random drawings of different things. And he said actually that they're on Instagram, and I guess this is like some option now. You can choose so many images and they make a book for you.
And that makes sense.
His Instagram, I'm sure, is
it's something
pretty
Shutterfly
popular.
should have done, is made an Instagram.
Exactly.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. They should have turned that into
Yeah.
a social networking site.
It's a combination of, exactly that, the two of those.
Yeah.
And that was
Because you have to go
smart.
through and upload the pictures and get the books, and we've done plenty of those, the Shutterfly books, because there's always codes and stuff.
So lots of really cool like kind of handmade, homemade stuff, and like books, and just a lot of other like.
You really can't overstate how cool that thing is.
I'm trying, and then there were a lot of really good like books, like comic-y or like sketchbooky, kind of like anthology kind of stuff.
Such
that was
a
going on.
variety of things.
Yeah, it was really impressive. There were 5 books that I probably would have just bought.
Yeah.
Right then.
Yeah, there were some I was like, if I pick that up, I'm going to buy it, and I'm not prepared to get into a comic book series right now. But there were some that I was like, that's fascinating. I don't know what that is. I'm not going to look at it.
So everyone should go to the next one. What annual is this? Like 3rd now.
Oh man, it's longer than that,
Is
isn't
it?
it? I have no idea. It seems like Patrick has been talking about ZineFest for a long time, and I guess one of
Who
the
has a phone?
one of the founders.
Is it
Well,
always
mine's
Is
recording.
it always at Lawndale? It's always been at Lawndale.
No, this is different. This is,
Oh,
I think,
okay,
the
so
first time
it's-
at Lawndale, isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I really don't, because I've always sort of put it off as something that I wasn't interested in, and I went, and
I've always said
This-
I was going to go, and I haven't gone. Yeah, well, and last year, you and I talked about it, which is why I mentioned it to you, because I remember saying, oh, yeah, today's Zine Fest. And you're like, oh, I kind of meant to go to that, and
Yeah.
didn't go. Or,
that's what it's happened every year.
yeah.
I looked for really good stickers. I found some like upstairs, like kind of a Donkey Kong, King Kong like one, and then there was a circular kind of like grimace face at the same table that I was really interested in. They were big stickers. I also looked for patches this year. I don't know why, but I looked for patches, and
You start yourself on a patchy jacket. So.
It was really cool is watching artists' face that had stickers when Lucy would get right into them.
oh yeah.
Like they're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
like this is what you make a sticker for, or, you know, that little piece of art. And you're like, somebody's gonna get all lit up over it, and there's Lucy, you know, going, oh my god, this is the coolest sticker
Especially
ever.
with kids, because, you know,
Yeah.
you can afford to get that for them, too. Like, it's a simple thing you can get into and get a bunch of them.
Yeah, the
And
stickers are
make
cool.
them so happy with something so little.
And then there was like some stuff that was like very political, like the cover didn't look like it, and then I would open it and I would go, wow, that's really strange. It's like a strange activist zine here, right? That's,
Right?
Which is, well, you know, which is more of what I guess the theme I was expecting rather than a lot of comic book art and such. So that's all we have on ZineFest, right?
Zine Fest! Woo!
Do we have
fun.
more? Yeah, and then I'm gonna drop into I Hate Art. So yeah, I guess we are pausing it right here.
Awesome
Sorry.
sensory overload. Loved it.
Yep,
That's
it
my-
was
that's
sensory
my
overload.
review.
I hate art. Art is stupid. Art is boring. ARTT art.
Oh my god.
Such a cock holster.
Your cock what?
Recorded
Holster.
cock holster.
Cock holster.
It's something we throw back and forth. He's the one with the cock holster.
Yeah. Okay.
And won't be holstering any cocks anytime soon.
Awesome.
So is that recording?
Yeah, it's recording.
Oh, nice.
Will you guys shut up
Totally.
so I can tell you a story?
Yeah,
what,
tell me.
what is it I said?
Well, we were talking about Francine. You were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You're a music teacher.
Yes.
Oh.
All right. Yes.
Francine.
Well, I was just searching around for shit to go see at Fitzgerald's, and there's a tribute show for Kenny Cordray on December 27th. And I was like, tribute show for Kenny Cordray? Is he dead? Because that's why you do tribute shows, because somebody's dead.
Or cancer.
Or they have cancer, you know, like
dying.
they've lost a bunch of body parts from something. I don't know. So, anyway, Kenny Cordray, I bought my first guitar with my own money. The first guitar that I've spent my own money on, I bought from him at Evans Music City, like 1986. And he was a dick, but he was really nice that day. That was the first time I met him. But it turns out, I'll tell you the urban legend version of the story, because I don't know if it's true or not, right? Is that Kenny Cordray was the backup guitarist in B.B. King's band. And he was on tour, and he broke his arm. Probably because he was in a fight. Because Kenny... even the urban legend would just support it. They go, oh, he was in a fight and he broke his arm, broke his finger, something like that. So he called Billy Gibbons and said, could you finish this tour for me? Because I can't fucking do it. And B.B. King was doing a song in his set that Kenny had written called Francine. And then Billy Gibbons finished the tour, and he was like, well, that's a really great song, Kenny. Can I record it? We were going to do this thing with the moving sidewalks, but instead they recorded the ZZ Top first album, and Francine was their first hit, right? But being the 70s and nobody thought anybody was going anywhere because they were all in Houston, they didn't think it was going to be anything, so they didn't really license it the way it was supposed to be licensed.
Now, is this one of those like traditional, like, blues songs that like everybody like kind of has a version of, like Train or
No,
like
if you heard Francine, you go, oh, Francine, it's a ZZ Top hit. It's definitely a blues themed song that, just about anybody could do, and it would be nothing. Like you would just go, oh yeah, it's another blues song. But with Billy Gibbons singing it in ZZ Top in the 70s, it was.
What I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know
though,
what you're
right?
talking about. It's not like one of those Zeppelin songs that they just like took and everybody criticizes them for not giving, credit for it. This is something he wrote. It's a blues. I mean, it's 3 chords.
Because Billy Gibbons always gives B.B. King the credit, you know what I'm saying, for that sound. I mean, he always refers back to B.B. King for that sound, right?
From what I was reading in his obit in the Houston Press, right, they gave credit to all 3 of them.
Okay, so I just assumed that it was like one of those songs that everybody does, and then everybody has a version of it, of like that blues song, and then eventually flash forward to the 90s where everybody's pissed off. And now everybody's got licensing on it.
You've heard this story before. I know you have, because Daryl used to tell it all the time. Okay. Because we all knew Kenny. Yeah. And Daryl's. I wish that we could get Daryl on the phone just to describe Kenny, because he had has all these amazing Southeast Texas phrases to describe Kenny, because he is a dick, and you can't not pay attention to him. You can't not respect him. He's a total dick. Right. And he was an incredible guitarist. I mean, definitely blew anybody else out of the water for, Houston, guitarists.
Right. So is he dead?
He is dead. His son shot him.
What?
Yeah, in May. And I didn't know this until like a couple weeks, last week. So, and I because I was looking for a tribute through the Fitzgerald stuff, I saw this tribute show. And then I was like, he's dead. And I went and looked him up, and he's dead. And then I posted it on Facebook. And then Daryl pops in and goes, yeah, Gary Heine's dead too. And that was my first guitar teacher. So the people in the 80s that like I had, Daryl introduced me to both of them, actually. I was a pretty shitty guitarist, and I wanted to learn how to play more. And then he introduced me he introduced me to Rob Reddick. Right. All within a week, all 3 of these people within a week. So Gary Heine was also an incredible guitarist, and his dad was Harry. There you go. That's a Southeast Texas thing, right? They were from Manville. And anyway, Harry Heine and Gary Heine. That's funny. That's right. Somebody in the 20s or 30s. They went, this is funny. We're gonna name him Harry, right? So they named his father. Anyway, they were young, so I guess Kenny was like 62, something like that. And I know I met his son, and he was like 33, so it's like a murder-suicide thing, something like that, which is terrible, but I mean also sort of a sign of the times, I guess. So that was, and then Gary died of a heart attack, and at first I was going to be kind of sad about that. I think he was probably like 55 or something like that. And then we thought about Gary, and Gary, he lived a lot in that amount of time. So he died in Beijing at the brewery that he had opened there.
Whoa.
Yeah, on top of all of the 800 other things that he's ever done with his life. And you go, I'm not that good of a guitar player. Fuck it. Throw it away. Yeah. Go on about his life. Open a brewery in Hong Kong. Sell it. Move to Beijing. That kind of stuff. Yeah. So, but it was really interesting to read all that shit and then think about it, and then think about sort of, because I never really thought of myself as having mentors. And then I thought, I wonder how common a story of that is to sort of dismiss people that really sort of played a role in development, like artistic development or even just personal development, because I wouldn't have thought of them at all. I haven't thought of Gary or Kenny in a long time.
I'm trying to think if they were also involved in the idea of one of them was down on their luck and was offered to go play with David Bowie.
That was Kenny.
That's the one. That story.
Yeah.
That's the story. That's
an urban legend though. It's I have no idea.
So just more urban legend.
That he was offered the guitar part on the guitar.
Well, what was it? He was
Ziggy
working
Stardust
on some project, and then got down on his luck,
Yeah. And then David, and then somebody heard him play, and he was recommended by somebody in that group.
Yeah.
And they offered him the
Go play with David Bowie on Ziggy Stardust.
oh yeah, be the guitar player on Ziggy Stardust. And the urban legend or myth at the time was that he was like, "No, I'm not playing for that fag." You know.
Yeah, totally. Like David Bowie's a faggot. He's like that.
You know, that's the urban myth, though. You know, it could have been anything because he was always super busy,
Yeah.
like doing. So he may have already been obligated under contract to do something.
Yeah.
And
That was the urban legend that went around about that.
yeah. But he was offered that somehow he was offered that role. But then the lawsuit around Francine lasted for a long time, or there was a lawsuit, or he would give interviews and he would just be like, "Yeah, they stole that fucking song from me."
Yeah.
But I guess they resolved it eventually, and now it's listed as credited to Billy Gibbons, B.B. King, and Kenny Cordray. So I don't know. Yeah, that's funny. I totally forgot that part of the story. I would have never thought to bring it up.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
So that's that.
There you go. Now I know all these stories about these people I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, the obvious.
So, but anyway, that was what I was thinking. You know, when you go, if you know any other stories like that, that's good too. But I wouldn't have thought of people like that. I was like, oh man, these people had a huge influence on what I did. When I decided to go to Berkeley, I would hunt down Kenny at shows, and then I'd bug him. He was never as nice to me as when he sold a guitar to me at Evans Music City. He was always a dick. Always a dick. Like, you'd ask him, he'd be like, "I don't know, man. Fucking go to school, don't go to school. I don't give a shit." I was like, "Do you think it's worth it to go?" "No, I don't fucking know. I don't know." And I was like 16 or 17. I was 17.
Here's
18 or 19.
Here's a story that is not an urban legend about Billy Gibbons. Like, we'd run into Billy like all the time.
I know. In the late 80s, he was always everywhere and anonymous.
Yeah.
And stuffing his beard into his shirt.
Right.
And he would be everywhere. I mean, I ate pancakes with him at an IHOP once.
He had his cars fixed at my grandfather's garage because my grandfather was one of the few people that worked on those old
Yeah.
That's
cool.
Cars.
Yeah, they're used
of them together.
during that time, like in that 80s, 90s era, right? Like he was everywhere. So was Frank Beard, right? They were like all over town. So
Right.
anyway, urban legend. Non-urban legend.
Not an urban legend about Billy Gibbons. Like at Sound Warehouse, like Linda Ramirez, like worked at Sound Warehouse. Like after she worked at Cabaret Voltaire, she went to go work at Sound Warehouse. And Billy Gibbons was wandering around Sound Warehouse incognito as much as he could be.
With that freaking beard.
Yeah, picking out, what was it called then? Industrial, not techno, but like, because techno wasn't then. I mean, it was like the beginnings of it, so it was kind of like this industrial kind of techno sound. And
The stuff that the genre that Nine Inch Nails originally got listed was like more of an industrial kind of thing.
And so he'd wander around like Sound Warehouse. Well, this particular time that I was in there, he's wandering around like gathering up all the industrial techno stuff at the time and like bringing it up to the counter and having them play it behind the counter so that he could hear it. Going around just going, "Oh, this is great, I want this," and like he would buy it. So he'd walk out of there with like a stack of like like industrial albums like at the time. It's just, this is what I'm basing my new sound off of this. It's so wild, man.
Did that ever happen? Is there an unknown album of his industrial hits that we don't
No, if you actually look at Eliminator, there's
Yeah.
drum machines in it.
Yeah.
And that's some of what like he kept adding more electronics until it was sort of unrecognizable from the early stuff. But it was more popping, he made more money, and the whole band made more money, so it's kind of what he was getting out of it. That's what they say.
Yeah.
They also, ZZ Top used to test out material by listing the band under some other name and then just showing up and playing, like opening a set. Like, they go to Fitzgerald's or Zelda's downstairs. Yeah, and then they would have like some bands. They go, oh, you can open on a Monday for. And they would act like they were a new band, and then they would just like have somebody else set the shit up, and then they'd all walk in and play a set, and then leave.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
People would call.
Wasn't Prince known for that, doing some surprise shows or something like
Yeah,
that?
I walked into one of those in
Yeah.
Boston. Yeah, because he was on. It was the Slave Tour when he was contracted to Warner Brothers, and he had to go to Lollapalooza. And then for every night after his Lollapalooza set, then he would go to some small club and just play a set. So with the band, I saw Fishbone that way too. Fishbone did that. It's cool.
Cool.
When I saw them, they did not do that.
What, Fishbone?
Yeah, they were playing El Rey in Albuquerque. It was like a huge show. It's ridiculous.
It's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were somewhere huge.
Somewhere huge.
Huge.
Somewhere huge like China.
Yeah, well, and Prince also, like Toyota Center.
Yeah, I don't know if we can squeeze anything else out of this.
Well, no, really, the only thing I was actually going for something else with that, which
Mentors,
was
right?
mentors. I mean, do you have any?
Troy Winscott, tell us about your mentors.
I mean, if you have any. I mean, like, that's the idea, is that, like, I didn't really think of these guys as mentors, but now that I think about it, right, they really had a huge influence on what I did, like, with my shit, with my music. So.
Well, Richard Fleur, I guess in art school, he used to do murals all over town and, like, basically, like, Shanghai the class to go do some mural here in town.
That he was getting paid for?
Yeah. That's good.
That's rich.
So yeah, mentor.
That was
right
it.
there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'd probably have to think of some other ones. But
I don't have a lot. I had that shitty art teacher in high school that was the opposite of a mentor.
I heard mine was dead, but like that, like he died of AIDS or something. But I think I found him online.
What, Richard Fleur?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I don't think he's dead. I think he's just old.
So if you were to think of that, what did you learn from him? Because I like some of the things that are really interesting to me, like Gary Heine's personality, because you knew me at the time, I didn't talk very much. But now I talk a lot like Gary Heine.
I was going to say, I thought you were saying talk
Like
a
I
lot.
do, like I talk a lot, right? And I'm pretty passionate about stuff, and I'm like, whoa, I got an idea, right? Like that was Gary all the time. Right? Like, I had another idea. Let's go open a brewery in Hong Kong.
Right.
I'm out.
So how did that happen?
What?
How did you come out of your shell? There's got to be a story there. Like like a near-death
Yeah,
experience?
Larry.
I really don't know. There's a couple things that sort of converged at the same time, but I literally didn't really know how to talk to people.
Yeah,
Well,
Larry,
what
Larry
did
didn't
it?
talk at all. Like I barely talked to
Right,
Larry. in
and
high
I've heard
school
that
at all.
a couple of times, but why are you loud? How are you?
Why are you so
Yeah,
fucking
he-
loud now?
Well, I mean
He
that
was
as a
always there,
compliment.
and
I mean,
you
look at the room
recognize
here.
Larry, but like, yeah.
You're a loud guy who speaks your mind, and that's a good thing. So what? I mean, and I've never known
I think
the
when
quiet
we really
Larry.
started talking was JT Carpets.
That's true.
What?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's. But I would talk to people one-on-one and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But with you in particular, we were driving around in that car, like, and you were just a fucking nut. And then like it would get, I would.
Troy was a nut.
Oh, you just have
What
no
kind?
idea how
What
he would
kind?
drive.
He drove crazy.
Oh, my God.
He gets on to me for how I drive all the time.
No, he drives like an old man now, which is great. Like, it's funny. Like there were several of us at the time between when we were like 17 to 20. One guy I got out of his fucking car. Actually, it's Brian Liu, and he tells the story all the time because I just went, I'm not going anywhere with you. And he was like, man, I don't know what your deal is. I'm just driving down the street. We stopped at a light, and I was like, I'm getting out. And I fucking left.
No, he was crazy.
He was totally nuts. And then he ended up flipping that car on the freeway.
It was like on the freeway, it's dumping rain, and he smacked a car that was on the shoulder.
There's disabled on the shoulder in the dark. and he never saw the car. He flipped. He said it was upside down. He could see the sparks and all of his shit in his car.
He had so much shit in his car.
Was there somebody else?
Like plates and forks and like everything.
That was me as a teenager.
And like it was
He was all fucking
it was
cut
like
up
everywhere. And the cop thought he was dead because he said he never touched the brakes, like at all. It was just all of a sudden on the hood, and like all this shit was just like everywhere.
Yeah.
One time I saw, like on the way to California, I saw like an RV get hit.
Yeah.
And it was like just shit like everywhere across the highway. Right?
That was my car in high school, and I was the girl
Yeah.
that drove everyone everywhere. I had this Honda Civic Wago van, and a lot of people got laid in my car. A lot of things that were really awesome happened. We slept in that car over and over again. My entire wardrobe was in that car, and I had this. It was a lot of stuff. At some point, I remember
crayons and combat boots and plates and silverware.
And for months, my eyes were burning, and I couldn't figure out why my eyes were burning all the time. And then I realized I was frequently like putting stuff
left in your car.
I was putting stuff under my seat. Like you hide your purse or something. You put stuff by your I don't think I had a purse, but like a wallet or something, hiding stuff under the seat all the time. And I looked down there one day cleaning up my car, and there was a busted can of pepper spray. And I had been like scraping my fingers in the carpet looking for stuff, and then touching my face and burning it with pepper spray, because that's how gross.
That's funny. Pepper spray burst under the. And it's gonna burst if you leave it in the car anyway.
Yeah, there was
like
melted crayons all over my dashboard. I don't know why would I have crayons in high school? I don't know. It was bad. Food.
We stuffed a carpet cleaning machine into the trunk, and we couldn't close it.
Right.
And he had this yellow Camaro.
Yeah.
Who had a yellow Camaro?
He did.
You drove a yellow
It was bright yellow.
Camaro? A bitchin' Camaro?
Yeah, that's not the only yellow car I've ever owned either.
You had a yellow truck that has 10.
Truck that looked like the Nolan mouse truck.
Now we're all too old to even see it, to see yellow. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we did. It was a.
How come I've never heard this stuff before?
You're hearing it now.
Are you ashamed of a yellow Camaro?
That's the yellow Camaro had a fucking carpet cleaner in the back. We had to drive it down the freeway.
Yeah.
And he would drive too fast. He was driving like 100, like if he could. He'd be like, and he was always mad about something. And he was like, God damn it! And he'd be like, ah! Driving the road. And like, I wasn't talking much. Like, I didn't talk much. And then I was like, fucking, what the fuck's the matter with you? I just like went from quiet to fucking losing my mind in the car. Fucking what the fuck's the matter with you?
He would lose his mind.
Wait, how old were you? This story.
I was 18.
This is teenage you?
He was 21.
Was like 21.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. The fucking carpet cleaner was busted.
Yeah.
So we would just spray water on shit. It wasn't sucking. Like, we would go to the mall, and we would go, hey, we could clean that shit up for you. And they'd go, oh, that's great. We go spray water on it. We go, isn't it a little wet? And we go, nah, it's fine. It should be like that.
Like, literally, squish, 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 squish. Like, splashing through the carpet.
Did you not know any better, or was that the scam?
No, we knew it was broken.
We knew.
But we were in the middle of a job when it was broken.
Yeah.
And other people saw us cleaning the carpets, and they asked us to work, too.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, shit, yeah, well, you should come over here and do this
Great.
next.
Yeah, come do ours.
Yeah, all right. And then it was broken. And I don't think, what was stupid about that is we could have easily gotten it fixed if we just told somebody, like Daryl or Derlin.
I don't know, man. It's like, I felt like we were always living from, like, one job to the next.
Yeah.
And just barely squeezing away with, like, $75 per job. And it was just like, holy crap.
So that was one story of getting there. But I think it was at Berkeley in Boston that I finally sort of started talking quite a bit. But it wasn't necessarily Berkeley itself. I just realized that I was not getting any opportunities because I couldn't talk.
Yeah.
Right, and that sucked.
So it was something that clicked in your own head, sort of.
Yeah, and then I made two friends, Jerry and Gopal, and they would put me in really uncomfortable situations socially all the time.
He never did that?
No, he never did that.
Why would I do that?
Well, it sounds
He always had
really
other people
fucking
that
loud
around him that were doing that.
back then.
Like you had to. He was probably guarding himself too at the time because there were so many people in our lives that would put you in uncomfortable situations and laugh. It was pretty funny. Eric, you had to be on your toes to be around Eric, and that was around the same time, 94, 93.
Yeah.
And he would just like, you'd be like, "What is going on?" And he wouldn't explain it to you. Like you're just like, "You're going along for a ride."
Yeah.
Also, my girlfriend at the time would do stuff like that. She would pretend that she was German, and then just pretend that I couldn't speak English. So like, then it was a built-in thing of like why I wasn't interacting with anybody, and she would do this German accent for like an hour. Like she'd just keep going, and then you're like, "All right, bye." So.
Nice.
Yeah. Uncomfortable social situations, and eventually you would just get to the point where you're like, if I don't speak, then shit is gonna go wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
What is that face? Ouch. It's not just me. It's not just me.
Move along.
If we can cut that. You don't have to mention that we talk on the phone for extra.
Does Larry ever cut anything?
I have cut lots of stuff when Ashley's in the room.
Yes.
And I save it all.
I say
No,
dumb
I'm just kidding.
stuff. I mean, that's part of probably why
I say dumb stuff.
I do. I say dumb shit. Dumb shit comes out of my mouth.
I wouldn't say that
denying
there's
it.
dumb shit that comes out of your mouth. I just think that there's stuff that when I'm listening to, I go, Ashley probably doesn't want that in a public podcast.
Yes, and I love that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
But you do hit a lot of other subjects too.
Yeah,
So there you go.
There you go. No, I don't have a good filter. I was talking about this earlier. Was it yesterday? We were talking about that, where I don't.
I don't know.
How,
I don't know.
I don't
What
have a
were you
very.
talking about?
I don't have a very good filter.
Oh,
I've been told that I don't have a lot of tact, and I tend to say things without thinking about them first. And I feel like I've gotten better.
I can tell you I'll be cutting this part.
Yeah. But I don't have a good filter? Oh, if anyone listens to it that knows me, well
no, there's the things that you put in something, and then
Yeah.
there's the things that you go, well, that's not going to do anything.
well, sometimes we're just saying stuff.
Oh no, I
It's
totally am
conversation.
with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, though, now recently, we get from one end to the other with nothing cut.
I think this one we
Not-
should add some B-roll into it so that you can cut to it. Like things like,
Yes. Well, you should probably spend a lot of time on me going. Because I feel like I'm doing that all the time. Or you guys are saying something and I'm going.
We all do our fucking Peanuts dance now.
yeah, that's all it is. 'Cause we just add like a whole little right, like shit like that, like little B-rolls of things without us saying anything. So that you can
And I'll just put that song in. Doom, 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 doom.
Ow, that hurt my shoulder.
I might leave all of this in now. All right, that's the end of that.
Good.
Thank you for listening to the Twisted Pop Podcast. For show notes, go to twistedpop.com/podcast. Merchandise at bigmyth.com. That's big-myth.com. In association with nquit.com. Until next time, this is the Twisted Pop